What's up, guys? This is Kyle from Wax Museum. And as you can see by the screen here, this is a little bit of a preview, but I've got another photo match project that I want to share with you today, at least part one of it. And this revolves around some of Clyde Drexler's Panini relics. Now, granted, it's not all of them because he's been in Panini products for many years and they've had multiple source materials, but it does focus in on some specific ones that you'll see, obviously, here later on. But this whole search and this whole project, believe it or not, started off with just this basic 2018 status relic. And I've got 3 copies of that up here for you. You can see the one on the left has kind of a tapered blue stripe. The one in the middle is just a solid white. And then the one on the right has a black stripe. And even though these are multicolored, they are not prime relics. They're just regular relics. But it got my attention because I noticed, especially the one on the left, I said, okay, that's very distinct. I know what type of uniform, kind of what type of era that's from. I knew that it was from a warm-up jacket, or at least I had my suspicions that it was from a warm-up jacket. And you can see it kind of at the top of those black stripes. Here's an example here. Obviously, that's not Clyde Drexler, but if you look at the top of those stripes, you can see that it's blue and it kind of tapers off a little bit. So that got me searching around to see, hey, is there anywhere where maybe Clyde Drexler warm-ups have sold? And I figured I could go from there. So always reliable with Panini. There was a lot with gray flannel that they purchased back in 2014. And it had a game-used and autographed home jersey and a warm-up suit. So I'm going to show you those 3 pieces here real quick, and then we'll dig in to some more of the details. But here you can see the jersey, and it was a signed jersey, right? And then also there was the warm-up suit. So you had this warm-up jacket, which once again, you can see kind of the stripes and that blue material in there as well. And then you had the pants. And I mentioned the tapered stripes on the jacket, but they don't look like they're tapered as much on the jacket as they are on the pants here. Look at the bottom of the pants, and you can see that those stripes kind of fade into blue and then fade into white. So that got me thinking, like, hey, this lot, most certainly could be a match, even though it's from 2014 and these cards are from 2018, because in some cases, Panini will use these relics for years. So as I mentioned, it is from 2014. So that got me thinking, all right, if they did in fact acquire this lot, and if they were using it, then they would have started using it probably in some of the 2014 sets. Now, this was purchased in August of 2014. So in theory, they could have used it probably as soon as National Treasures, maybe even a little earlier than that. But we're thinking probably mid-year in 2015, which would still be the 2014-2015 release calendar. So one of the relics that came up was from Panini Excalibur, which was a Target exclusive, actually. And you can see on this base relic here, there is a black stripe. And even the white relic itself doesn't have all the mesh holes in it. So the fabric is very characteristic of what you would find in that warm-up suit. So I decided, well, let me keep looking at 2014, 2015 relics to see what else I can come up with. So if you look in, I believe these were in Crown Royale at the time, the silhouettes. I know they moved from product to product, but okay, this could have been from that jersey, but it could have been from a different white jersey as well. So I'm not going to rule it out completely yet. And then I came across some relics from Lux. And if you look at that top row of relics, you can see that those are clearly, be it the neck holes, the arm holes, or the bottom of that warm-up suit, those are clearly from that. They're not from anything else. They're not trimmed from a jersey because it doesn't have a thin stripe. So that I would say is clearly from a jacket like that. And then there were some premium pieces, a couple of them numbered to 5 that I found, and then one that was a 1 of 1. And just a disclaimer here, the 5 of 5 showed up on eBay after I started this project. So I own the 5 of 5 now. So I need to get you a better picture of that up, maybe even a video. But yes, I own that card now. So I will be showing that off at some point. But anyway, I noticed that those pieces matched this logo here on the front of the warm-up. Not only that, if you look at the 1 of 1, there's part of that blue stripe in there, which shows me it is from a warm-up and not from the shorts, because sometimes they had this logo on shorts as well. Because for instance, another patch or another product that came up in my search was actually from 2013, 2014, which was gold standard. And I thought, oh, hey, maybe that's where the rest of that patch came from. But I noticed there were pieces that overlapped. So they wouldn't have had it in time, right? It didn't make any sense. So if you see these patches out there, it doesn't mean all of them are from that same warm-up suit. This is from a pair of shorts that they had prior to that. You can also see there's some blue on the bottom of that right copy, or there's like a little dark jersey piece there at the bottom. So anyway, I just wanted to say, just because you see a piece like that does not mean it's all from that exact warm-up suit. The ones in Lux, however, I believe to be all from this warm-up suit. If, I'm getting ahead of myself here, if we can match some of the mesh holes up and match some of the threads up and stuff like that. So we're going to see if we can do that throughout the course of this activity. So some of the other relics that came up, you can see some stuff here. I mentioned National Treasures. Here's some stuff from National Treasures. And you'll notice on this clutch factor on the bottom right, I figured out that it is part of the R from Rockets. And you can see that either black or a navy blue stripe, I can't really tell the difference, coming out of that bottom part. And that matches up with here. So at least the location's the same. And I haven't zoomed in and looked at the mesh holes yet, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. In addition to that, 2014 was the debut of a really high-end set that you guys probably know of now called Eminence. And in Eminence, guess what? Look at the Clyde Drexler relics in this set here. They're all part of that giant, or presumably part of that giant back logo on that warm-up suit. And there's not mesh there, so it is the same material. So all of the pieces here are lining up. And you can go and you can continue looking at Eminence, and you'll see, hey, once again, here are the pieces from the back of that warm-up jacket. Well, guess what? Immaculate had some of them as well. Look at that warm-up jacket. Imagine, first off, an NBA player wearing that. So imagine how big that jacket is. And then think how many patches they can make just from that back part alone. And then as I showed you, they were using all the different parts as well. Well, I kept looking at Flawless to see, hey, what else is out there for Flawless? And I noticed all of these pieces here. Now, once again, this is not a guarantee that all of these would come from that source material because they've had other Drexler jerseys, but I took some that were a little bit easier for me to identify. So if you'll look at that top 3 row, those are definitely all nameplate pieces. So thankfully, I was able to blow up that gray flannel nameplate picture, and I was able to see where some of these matched up. So here's 4 cards, and you can see where all 4 pieces match up. Not only that, the mesh holes match up. So to me, that said, hey, this is probably a match. In addition, if you go back, if you look, some of these are the bottom left-hand corner. Those are from number 2s. And they look like the smaller number 2s because the number 2s on the front of the jersey were smaller. The number 2s on the back of the jersey were a lot bigger. So I tried to match them up, and you can see here, and I tried to put them kind of above where they would be placed on the jersey. So you can see that the mesh holes do in fact line up. If you look on this left version here, you'll notice that it's kind of a diagonal line straight down the middle of mesh holes. And we get that also on one of these patches. If you look at the one on the right, you can see kind of there's a triangle configuration right there at the base of the 2, and those line up as well. Now, you do have to flip those patches around in order to notice that, but these mesh holes do in fact line up. So if we are pausing to reflect for a moment here, I've gone over a lot of stuff. I want to do some thinking. The timeline of the purchase of these materials and the production of the cards that came out and had some of those pieces in them, or what I believe are those pieces in them, they match up. The materials used in many 2014, 2015 Rockets cards use the same styles as this new source acquisition. Several flawless nameplate pieces match up with the mesh holes on the gray flannel auction. Several flawless number pieces match up with the mesh holes on the gray flannel auction. So I'm going to conclude, and I've shown you all the evidence for it, I can definitively say this lot was in fact purchased by Panini and used for cards. Now, as I've already mentioned, I still want to clarify, they had previous Drexler material, so that doesn't mean everything used in this era was from this source material. They could be mixing some old stuff in too. For example, if you look at 2015, 2016 National Treasures, they used a slew of materials. Now, some of those with the stripes and the non-mesh hole stuff, I would say that matches up for sure. Some of the other stuff, I would have to do a little bit deeper digging to see what I could come up with. And then another example here, this is the one I showed you at the start of the video, 2015, 2016 Immaculate, uses a mix from several different sources, I believe. And even the one that I've circled for you on the right uses what I believe is a Navy jersey. So you just have to be careful with that. If you are going to say that something definitively matches up, make sure you can actually look at the context and decide for yourself. So this was just part one. I had to split this up because this was going to be a really long video, but a lot of people in the game worn area and kind of collectors and whatever overlap is there, they've said, well, you might be able to match up the source material to an auction house, but that doesn't mean the jersey was actually worn in a game. It could be, but sometimes those auction houses will present stuff that was game issued and wasn't actually worn, and they'll present it to Panini as game worn. So it's hard to tell. So what I want to do is I'm going to go into a photo match. It might even involve some trading cards from the 90s. So I've never shown you that on here before. I've never done that for you here before. So you'll want to make sure to stay tuned for that. Make sure to like this video if you like this kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments that you want to see more of it. Remember, there are new episodes of the audio podcast that come out every Thursday. And as always, thanks for watching.